Jimmy Carter, James Earl Carter, Jr., 39th President of the United States, was born October 1, 1924, in the small farming town of Plains, Georgia, and grew up in the nearby community of Archery. His father, James Earl Carter, Sr., was a farmer and businessman, his mother, Lillian Gordy Carter, a registered nurse. He was educated in the public school of Plains, attended Georgia Southwestern College and the Georgia Institute of Technology, and received a B.S. degree from the United States Naval Academy in 1946. In the Navy he became a submariner, serving in both the Atlantic and Pacific fleets and rising to the rank of lieutenant. Chosen by Admiral Hyman Rickover for the nuclear submarine program, he was assigned to Schenectady, New York, where he took graduate work at Union College in reactor technology and nuclear physics and served as senior officer of the pre-commissioning crew of the Seawolf, the second nuclear submarine. On July 7, 1946, he married Rosalind Smith of Plains. When his father died in 1953, he resigned his naval commission and returned with his family to Georgia. He took over the Carter Farms, and he and Rosalind operated Carter's Warehouse, a general-purpose seed and farm supply company in Plains. He quickly became a leader of the community, serving on county boards supervising education, the hospital authority, and the library. In 1962 he won election to the Georgia Senate. He lost his first gubernatorial campaign in 1966, but won the next election, becoming Georgia's 76th governor on January 12, 1971. He was the Democratic National Committee campaign chairman for the 1974 congressional and gubernatorial elections. President Jimmy Carter. On December 12, 1974, he announced his candidacy for President of the United States. He won his party's nomination on the first ballot at the 1976 Democratic National Convention and was elected president on November 2, 1976. Jimmy Carter served as president from January 20, 1977 to January 20, 1981. Significant foreign policy accomplishments of his administration included the Panama Canal Treaties, the Camp David Accords, the Treaty of Peace between Egypt and Israel, the SALT II Treaty with the Soviet Union, and the establishment of U.S. diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China. He championed human rights throughout the world. On the domestic side, the administration's achievements included a comprehensive energy program conducted by a new Department of Energy, deregulation in energy, transportation, communications, and finance, major educational programs under a new Department of Education, and major environmental protection legislation, including the Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act, which doubled the size of the national park system and tripled the wilderness areas. Jimmy Carter served as the 39th President of the United States from 1977 to 1981. He was awarded the 2002 Nobel Peace Prize for work to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts, to advance democracy and human rights, and to promote economic and social development. Jimmy Carter aspired to make government competent and compassionate, responsive to the American people and their expectations. His achievements were notable, but in an era of rising energy costs, mounting inflation, and continuing tensions, it was impossible for his administration to meet these high expectations. Carter, who has rarely used his full name, James Earl Carter, Jr., was born October 1, 1924, in Plains, Georgia. Peanut farming, talk of politics, and devotion to the Baptist faith were mainstays of his upbringing. Upon graduation in 1946 from the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, Carter married Rosalind Smith. The Carters have 3 sons, John William, Jack, James Earl III, Chip, Donnell Jeffrey, Jeff, and a daughter, Amy Lynn. After 7 years' service as a naval officer, Carter returned to Plains. In 1962 he entered state politics, and 8 years later he was elected governor of Georgia. Among the new young Southern governors, he attracted attention by emphasizing ecology, efficiency in government, and the removal of racial barriers. Carter announced his candidacy for president in December 1974 and began a two-year campaign that gradually gained momentum. At the Democratic Convention, he was nominated on the first ballot. He chose Senator Walter F. Mondale of Minnesota as his running mate. Carter campaigned hard against President Gerald R. Ford, debating with him 3 times. Carter won by 297 electoral votes to 241 for Ford. Carter worked hard to combat the continuing economic woes of inflation and unemployment. By the end of his administration, he could claim an increase of nearly 8 million jobs and a decrease in the budget deficit, measured in percentage of the gross national product. Unfortunately, inflation and interest rates were at near record highs, and efforts to reduce them caused a short recession. Carter could point to a number of achievements in domestic affairs. He dealt with the energy shortage by establishing a national energy policy and by decontrolling domestic petroleum prices to stimulate production. He prompted government efficiency through civil service reform and proceeded with deregulation of the trucking and airline industries. He sought to improve the environment. His expansion of the national park system included protection of 103 million acres of Alaskan lands. To increase human and social services, he created the Department of Education, bolstered the Social Security system, and appointed record numbers of women, blacks, and Hispanics to government jobs. In foreign affairs, Carter set his own style. His championing of human rights was coldly received by the Soviet Union and some other nations. In the Middle East, through the Camp David Agreement of 1978, he helped bring amity between Egypt and Israel. He succeeded in obtaining ratification of the Panama Canal Treaties. Building upon the work of predecessors, he established full diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China and completed negotiation of the SALT II nuclear limitation treaty with the Soviet Union. There were serious setbacks, however. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan caused the suspension of plans for ratification of the SALT II Pact. The seizure as hostages of the U.S. Embassy staff in Iran dominated the news during the last 14 months of the administration. The consequences of Iran's holding Americans captive, together with continuing inflation at home, contributed to Carter's defeat in 1980. Even then, he continued the difficult negotiations over the hostages. Iran finally released the 52 Americans the same day Carter left office. In 1982, he became University Distinguished Professor at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, and with Rosalind Carter founded the Carter Center. The nonpartisan and nonprofit center addresses national and international issues of public policy. Carter Center staff and associates have joined with President Carter in efforts to resolve conflict, promote democracy, protect human rights, and prevent disease and other afflictions. The center has spearheaded the international effort to eradicate guinea worm disease, which is poised to be the second human disease in history to be eradicated. President Carter and the Carter Center have engaged in conflict mediation in Ethiopia and Eritrea, 1989, North Korea, 1994, Liberia, 1994, Haiti, 1994, Bosnia, 1994, Sudan, 1995, the Great Lakes region of Africa, 1995–96, Sudan and Uganda, 1999, Venezuela, 2002–2003, Nepal, 2004–2008, Ecuador and Colombia, 2008, the Middle East, 2003 present, and Mali, 2018 present. Under his leadership, the Carter Center has sent 114 election observation missions to the Americas, Africa, and Asia. These include Panama, 1989, Nicaragua, 1990, China, 1997, Nigeria, 1998, Indonesia, 1999, East Timor, 1999, Mexico, 2000, Guatemala, 2003, Venezuela, 2004, Ethiopia, 2005, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, 2006, Nepal, 2008, Lebanon, 2009, Sudan, 2010, Tunisia, 2011, Egypt, 2011 to 2012, Kenya, 2013, Mozambique, 2014, Myanmar, 2016, Liberia, 2017, and Guyana, 2020. The permanent facilities of the Carter Presidential Center were dedicated in October 1986, and include the Jimmy Carter Library and Museum, administered by the National Archives. Also open to visitors is the Jimmy Carter National Historical Park in Plains, administered by the National Park Service. Until 2020, Jimmy and Rosalind Carter volunteered 1 week a year for Habitat for Humanity, a nonprofit organization that helps needy people in the United States and in other countries renovate and build homes for themselves. He also taught Sunday school in the Maranatha Baptist Church of Plains. The Carters have 3 sons, 1 daughter, 9 grandsons, 1 deceased, 3 granddaughters, 5 great-grandsons, and 9 great-granddaughters. On December 10, 2002, the Norwegian Nobel Committee awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for 2002 to Jimmy Carter for his decades of untiring effort to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts, to advance democracy and human rights, and to promote economic and social development. On February 18, 2023, President Carter decided to spend his remaining time at home with his family and receive hospice care. In exit polls from the 1976 presidential election, many voters still held Ford's pardon of Nixon in 1974 against him. By comparison, Carter was viewed as a sincere, honest, and well-meaning Southerner. During his presidency, polls generally showed that most Americans saw Carter as likable and a man of high moral principles. In the 1980 election, Reagan projected an easy self-confidence, in contrast to Carter's serious and introspective temperament. Carter was portrayed as more pessimistic and indecisive than Reagan, who was known for his charm and delegation of tasks to subordinates. Reagan used the economic issues, the Iran hostage crisis, and the lack of Washington cooperation to portray Carter as a weak and ineffectual leader. Carter was the first elected incumbent president since Herbert Hoover in 1932 to lose a re-election bid. Carter began his presidency with an approval rating between 66% and 75%. It remained above 50% until February 1978 and got as low as 28% in July 1979, primarily because of economic issues resulting from a heavy decline in energy and oil production. At the beginning of the Iran hostage crisis, his approval rating surged to 61%, up 23 points from his pre-crisis rating. Polls also found that up to 77% of Americans approved of Carter's initial response to the crisis, but by June 1980, amid heated criticism from across the political spectrum for his failure to free the hostages, his approval rating slumped to 33%. That same month Reagan became the front-runner in the 1980 election. As Carter was leaving office, a Gallup poll found that 48% of Americans thought he had been an average or above average president, 46% said he had been below average or poor, and only 3% thought he had been outstanding. He left office as one of the most unpopular U.S. presidents in history. Scholars and many Democrats initially viewed Carter's presidency as a failure. In a 1982 Chicago Tribune survey, when 49 historians and scholars were asked to rank the best and worst U.S. presidents, Carter was ranked the 10th worst. Since then, historical rankings of American presidents have generally ranked his presidency between 18th and 34th place. The 2009 documentary Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace credits Carter's efforts at Camp David, which brought peace between Israel and Egypt, with bringing the only meaningful peace to the Middle East. His post-presidency activities have been favorably received. The Independent wrote, "Carter is widely considered a better man than he was a president." In a 2007 Gallup poll, 69% of respondents had a favorable opinion of Carter. In Gallup's 1990 retrospective ratings of U.S. presidents, Carter's presidency received a 45% favorability rating. Only Nixon and Lyndon B. Johnson had lower ratings. In a 2006 poll, Carter's presidency received a 61% favorability rating, its highest since 1979. Although his presidency received a mixed reception, his peacekeeping and humanitarian efforts since he left office have made Carter renowned as one of the most successful ex-presidents in U.S. history. Carter received the American Academy of Achievement's Golden Plate Award in 1984. The Jimmy Carter Library and Museum was opened in 1986. The following year, the Jimmy Carter National Historical Park was established as a National Historic Site and in 2021, renamed as a National Historical Park. In 1991, Carter was made an honorary member of Phi Beta Kappa at Kansas State University, and was elected to the American Philosophical Society. In 1998, the U.S. Navy named the third and final Sea Wolf-class submarine USS Jimmy Carter, honoring Carter and his service as a submarine officer. Carter received the United Nations Prize in the field of human rights, given in honor of human rights achievements, and the Hoover Medal, recognizing engineers who have contributed to global causes. Carter's 2002 Nobel Peace Prize was partially a response to President George W. Bush's threats of war against Iraq and Carter's criticism of the Bush administration. In 2009, the Southerfield Airport in Americus, Georgia, was renamed Jimmy Carter Regional Airport. Carter has been nominated 9 times for the Grammy Award for Best Spoken Word Album for audio recordings of his books, and has won 3 times for Our Endangered Values, America's Moral Crisis, 2007, A Full Life, Reflections at 90, 2016, and Faith, A Journey for All, 2018. On February 21, 2024, the White House Historical Association unveiled its official 2024 White House Christmas ornament honoring Carter's naval service and efforts for peace. This was the first time a president being honored was alive at the time of the unveiling. Thank you for watching this video.